radical acceptance is something that has been more frequent in my life lately. And it's something that I've actually been talking about with one of my clients that I'm working with. Radical acceptance. We want to come to a place of radical acceptance. What does that feel like, and what does that do? Well, let's think about radical acceptance as, well, radical acceptance, right? It's like accepting absolutely everything in life. And that means whenever we have something uncomfortable arising, anything, shame, guilt, fear, sadness, anger, pride, desire, apathy, when we can learn to accept that, when we can learn to look at that and say, okay, it's okay. When we can have thoughts in our mind that we don't like, even PTSD thoughts sometimes, deep trauma, grudges towards people, grudges towards ourselves, to look at that and say, okay. And by that I mean to open ourselves up to that. Radical acceptance means to let go of the resistance we create towards everything that is uncomfortable in our life all the time, and everything that is good. Because with radical acceptance, we learn to let go of pleasure, and we learn to accept pain, right? We're not clinging to pleasure, and we're not escaping pain. And we create so much more stillness and peace of mind in here with radical acceptance. It's going to be scary because there's a part of us who wants to resist pain and cling to pleasure. And this part of ourselves that has been basically installed in our mind and been here pretending to be us since we were between 7 and 10 years old, that part of us has to die in that process. And that's going to be scary. It's going to bring up a lot of fear. And it's something that I have been facing lately over the last, let's say, 6 months, or just more, let's say a year. Just surrendering more and more and more into that fear and learning to become comfortable with that fear that arises there. But I can tell you that when we learn to just be with whatever arises, something very beautiful happens. There's deep peace and stillness that comes from that. And so, how do we learn to radically accept everything in our life? Let's say that we want to accept something that is painful to us. What we want to do then is to sit, and if there's an image tied to it, usually there's a memory tied to it, in forms of images or something like that. So we can sit down and visualize those images or that image and just see that, and let whatever comes up come up without doing anything. Just allow ourselves to feel that. Feel the sensation, what it does to you. Let's say that it's shame, because shame is low, it's heavy, right? Let's say that it's shame, and we sit with the shame and we say, where do I feel the shame? Who is observing, who is witnessing the shame? Who is feeling the shame? Where does it sit? What happens in my body when I feel shame? How does it feel? Who does the shame arise to? And basically the end goal of this is to invite it into our heart, to let the shame move upwards, let's say. Because usually shame sits in the lower abdomen, if we're talking about shame. But we just allow ourselves to just feel that, right? Feel that shame and allow it to move upwards. Because we want, like I said, we want it to enter our heart. Because in the heart is where forgiveness happens. And we could say that forgiveness is another word for radical acceptance, right? We accept whatever happened, which is a form of forgiveness. Because we think that we need to forgive with the mind. I cannot forgive this thing. Because we're trying to forgive with the mind. But the mind can never forgive, ever. Because one of the mind's, let's say, weapons or things that it does is that it always needs to be right about its own perspective. The mind will always have to be right about everything. The mind wants you to hold on to these things. So when we learn to just be in the body, which is the opposite of the mind, right? And we can learn to feel the energy, it's like feel the shame, what happens in my body, how does my body respond? Do I contract with the shame? Do I feel like a tension anywhere? And just allow that to be that, invite that in more. Like can we let go of the guard towards the shame, right? Can we learn to just be with it and invite it in and realize that this is just energy in the body? It has nothing to do with me at all. It's not who I am. I'm not the shame. I'm not my mind. I'm not my emotions. They are a part of me, that's true, but it's not what I inherently are. I am something way, 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 way more incomprehensible, ineffable, unfathomable. I am everything. And so when we learn to just be with that, when we learn to be with everything that makes us uncomfortable, and when we learn to accept the entire spectrum of human emotions, shame all the way up to enlightenment, when we learn to accept them, not resist them, not cling to them or grasp after them, wouldn't you say that that is like the most authentic version of yourself ever? Wouldn't you say that? It's like if you can allow yourself to just be exactly as you are at all times, what more would you want out of life? Is there anything else you'd rather want than that? Than to just allow yourself to be shameful or guilty or apathic or angry or prideful? To be like, okay, I have pride, I have anger, it's okay. Like to not judge yourself for feeling low certain days. Or to think that, oh, okay, I feel super happy now, I need to feel this all the time. To be like, joy, it feels good to let it go. It'll come back eventually, it's fine. And pain, come here, I'll give you a hug, it's okay. Right? Wouldn't it be awesome to live that way? If we can treat the entire spectrum of what it's like to be human with radical acceptance and love and understanding that this is who I am. This is who I'm supposed to be. I'm human. And so that is a way forward if you want to learn radical acceptance. To learn what our body is doing all the time. To come down into our body. To not be so occupied in the mind all the time. And if you want to learn how to do this, if you want to learn to come down into your body, then click the first link in my description and apply for my coaching, and maybe we can work together. But I have so many clients that I'm working with that is struggling with this, that is living inside their heads all the time, always trying to predict the future or regretting something in the past. And it's so painful. We walk around and we rehearse everything that we have done badly in our lives all the time. And we suffer from things that happened 10, 20, 30 years ago. It's not who we are. They're just images in the mind that we identify with and we believe that they are true. And then they cause, let's say, shame. And we resist the shame. And then we resist the mental images. Like, I don't want this. But if we can learn to just if we can learn that, okay, these are here. The reason that they stick around, the reason that they keep coming back into my life all the time is because I resist them. I'm not letting them pass through. And so with the paradox of resistance is that with resistance, we actually hold on to them. We fear them coming back, and so they always come back. But if we are unbothered by them, if we be like, oh, it's just images in the mind, I'm fine. Right? Can you see how they pass through us? And the interesting thing with resistance is that we resist the resistance as well. Whenever resistance arises, we resist the resistance with more resistance. Instead of learning to let go of the resistance, to realize that whatever is happening is supposed to happen all the time. And if I resist it, isn't that a little bit insane? Like I agree or I disagree with what reality is giving to me at the moment. I want reality to look another way. It's a little bit insane, but we all do it all the time, right? But so if we can learn to just open ourselves up to whatever happens all the time, we will let go of the filter. We will stop filtering reality so much, and we will open up to life. We will learn to embrace reality with open arms, and we will not suffer, and we will create more peace of mind in here, and we will live more freely. We allow things to be exactly as they are at all times. I'm very happy that you made it to the end. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I'm trying to make it to 1,000 subscribers. Don't forget to like and comment as well, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks so much. Bye.